Welcome to the Big Steps Bold Stories podcast, episode 9, Why Having Grit Matters. So, what is grit? Grit is having the passion and perseverance for achieving your long term goals. And it is staying true and sticking to something until the outcome that you're looking for is fully realized. Developing grit as a character trait, it elevates your coping skills, it increases your self-awareness, and it gives you the edge that you need to succeed in this life in all areas of your life, in your work, your finances, in your personal relationships. Now, grit isn't something that a lot of people talk about because it's not tangible. You can't see how gritty someone is. And that's what I love about it, is because only you know deep down to your core how gritty you really are. Now, developing grit isn't always easy, but the way that I look at it is, what is a new skill that I can add to my tool chest? What is something that I can add to my life so that I have more personal growth and more satisfaction in everything that I'm doing? And grit is even harder and feels unattainable almost when that outcome that you're looking for is not realized. It's not there yet. It's not in your hand. It's not there. A personal example for me was when I started online with my scrapbooking website and my scrapbooking podcast. I put up web page after web page after web page after web page before for months before I started making income. And I could have been so discouraged. I could have been so just frustrated and thrown in the towel. But I was like, you know what? I know that other people are doing this and I can do this too. So I just kept building page after page after page. And before you knew it, my first commissions came in. And within 3 years, I was making more than my least performing retail store. That was a pretty cool moment. That was a pretty cool time in my life. And I want to encourage you to whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing, take it seriously, treat it like a business. Because when you do that, you show your grit. You go, I don't see the realized outcome yet. However, I know it's going to happen. I know what lies ahead and I know how I'm going to get there and it's going to happen. So you have to tell yourself that. You have to have that grit deep down in your soul and ignore anything else and stay focused on the plan, focused on what you need to do day in, day out, every single moment. What are you going to do during your day to realize that outcome that lies ahead? That is right there for you to grab, to say, okay, I'm going to step into that. How am I going to do that? I'm going to follow this and this and this and this. This last week, I got really sick. I was so ill. It just threw me for a loop. I was flat on my back. And even today, like this is a week later, today, I feel still a little bit sick. And if you're watching this on Saturday, don't worry. I'm recording this much earlier, this is Wednesday morning. So don't worry. If you see me at church on Sunday, I'm fine. All right. But what I'm saying is that it threw me for a loop. And today I don't necessarily feel like doing a podcast. But I told myself in my brain, Vera, you got to have grit. This is the day. Wednesday is the day. You are going to record your podcast. You're going to get it up so that you can start promoting it and sharing it with everybody so that they can look forward to it on Saturday. And you can send it out to your subscribers and send it out to the people that want to hear from you. So I had to have grit within myself and say, you might not feel top 100%, but it's time to get going and get working on what you're called to do. Having grit increases your communication skills. It helps you dig deeper into your relationships. It helps you listen better, and you're able to share your thoughts and your opinions and your insights in a very clear, communicative way. So, how can we become unaffected by the little things Like when you're trying to build this online business and the income is not realized and the community is not realized and your dream, your vision is not in place yet. How can you become unaffected by that? And the one thing I can tell you is when you're having a conversation with someone who has grit, like real true grit deep down in their core, you're going to notice something interesting about them. And it's that they don't sweat the small things in life. There's even a book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. They let things roll off their back, right? Just let things roll off your back. And that is a key to having more grit is surround yourself with people who have grit, but also work on being unaffected by the little things day to day that fly at you because you don't have time for it. You need to be focusing on what you're building because the world's waiting for you and people need to hear your message. Now, the goal to having grit is to rise to the top. Don't be affected by the little things and become a leader in your space. It is important for you to become a leader in your space. You need to have grit to realize that you are the one that needs to give voice to what is happening in your space. So let's talk more right now about developing grit in your professional life. Now, the grittiest people know that you need to work smarter, not harder. And your outcomes that you're working on are not tied to the time that it takes you to put something. It is based on your effort. Your grit is based on the effort that you put into your work. Being gritty also increases that know, like, and trust factor. When you are a dependable leader, when people can depend and rely on you, they will have a more open heart towards you and open ear to what you have to say. So be dependable and be a leader. When you do things that are uniquely you, the things that only you can do, especially if it's things that people can't do or won't do, and when it is something that is naturally wonderful and easy for you to get out of your heart and for you to work on, then what happens is it raises the awareness in a crazy busy world. People are listening to a lot of things, and it raises and puts you front and center into what's happening in that whole sphere. If you're taking a side hustle into a full-time income, if that's what you truly want to do, it is going to take a lot of grit. It is going to take a lot of long hours and dedication and perseverance to make that happen. It is not something that's going to happen overnight, and it's not going to be magically done once you put up a web page. You have to be continuously building and building and building all the time. You have to have that endurance, that perseverance, and developing that grit is so key in the whole process of it all. I'm so excited to be sharing this with you today because I know for myself too, I've had to really work on developing that grit. Business and life was easy back when everything was working perfectly. But when things switch up and you go, whoa, there's so much more happening in my life, and I have different values for my life. I have different motivations and goals. Like when I was 24, I was so proud of myself for standing in my dream home. Like I remember the moment when I said to the realtor, we'll take it. This is the one. But today, that would never be my dream home. That's not the goal for my life, is to have that kind of dream home. I want something completely different. I want something that's going to free me up. What I didn't realize is having that house actually tied me to the doing the lawn. It tied me to making sure that someone could pick up my newspaper if I was out of town. It made me responsible for the roof. It made me responsible for everything that was surrounding that house. And cleaning it every weekend was what we did. Today, my goals are very different. And I just want a nice, beautiful, clean space that I can think and pray in. And my goals are totally different for my life. I value my freedom more than I value having a big house that I have to clean continuously. At the end of the day, life is going to come at you. It's going to throw things at you that you're not necessarily going to like. So, when it comes to your business, there's going to be projects that fail, that don't make sales. There's going to be things that disappoint you. And I can tell you right now, grit has been the key. It has been the key inside my heart. It is something that I've kept in my toolbox that I can pull out anytime and say, grit is what I'm going to use to adapt to these situations. And this is what I'm going to use to overcome and keep going with my mission and my vision. Grit is what gives someone who's lost in the mountains the ability to go, I can eat that bug. Grit is courage, right? I can eat that bug because I'm hungry right now. It's okay, I can do it. That's grit. And grit becomes real to you when you want to overcome more than you want to give up. So think about it. How are you going to develop grit today? How are you going to ride it out and go, I've got grit and I'm going to make this happen? Thank you for being here with me today. I could talk on and on and on about grit. And I'm just so thankful to share it with you. And I hope it helps you. And I can't wait to hear from you and your grit stories. What has caused you to have grit in your life and use that for your future? I will see you on the next podcast. I can't wait to share. It is with Alice Seba, and we're going to be talking all things content and how we develop that into our online business. So I'm excited to share that with you, and we will see you on the next one.